All right, next article, guys. Let's quickly go through this because this is about home equity. Surprise, surprise, not. Home equity is still high, and guess what? It increased in 2025. Sorry, everybody, there was no housing collapse. No. I know
maybe
that
next
is
year.
Really bad news for everybody. We're supposed to be celebrating Christmas, and I guess we're going to celebrate that you were wrong. Sorry, there was no housing collapse. National homeowner equity was up 2.5% overall for the whole United States. And as we know, in some places it was much higher than that, and some it was much lower. There are places that have declined, but the average still went up. And now there is an estimated it went up by $425 billion with a B, which now represents the total net homeowner equity of, drumroll please,
Jeez, that's crazy.
$17.5 trillion of home equity.
Yep.
How do you cash out?
That's I'd like a loan against the national
you know
home
why
equity,
the
please.
Vanguards and the BlackRocks are going after this, right? Make it a renter's nation.
Very
lucrative.
Can you imagine if the government's like, hey, we're just gonna take a cash out on like everyone's house. We don't know. Our $1 trillion of debt has been drastically declined.
Thanks, homeowners.
Overnight. There's so much equity in all our homes.
That's crazy.
So this is, this is from CoreLogic, so we rely on them. I wanted to toss CoreLogic in at the end of the year because I know they're going to have something that's valuable for us. This tips us into 2025, coming off of, I'll say, more momentum. We've seen momentum in a resurgence of refinances. We've seen more momentum and buyers coming off the sidelines like, hey, I want to buy a house. Let's get an application going. And now you see that equity was a benefit of homeownership in 2024 as well.
Absolutely. I love how the, Northeast, they've been cranking. They've been just doing very well.
Isn't that crazy?
And finally, the West kind of started seeing, not a decline, but just like a softening.
Yeah, like slowing down, like a leveling off, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, even then, like not massive declines. But we also had seen some of the most rampant increases during the COVID era times when like, oh, hey, this place went up 11% last year. This place went up 13. This one went up 9. Like, dude, year over year, that's crazy. Yeah. And I wanted one special note because of the whole disaster that hit Hawaii. Hawaii had a massive decline as far as overall value, but it had to do with just the destruction. So the reason I brought that up is because sometimes, given the data, sometimes the data has it's going to reflect all those things too. And so sometimes there's like a little bit of an asterisk you kind of need to keep in your mind or keep in your notes. Like, okay, that includes that part as well. So Hawaii is a very expensive area in general. There is a lot of equity out there, but there was a substantial decline as far as total equity because of the loss of the fires. So.
Correct. And when we're talking about this, these losses, a lot of times these fires actually burn down the home.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So there's nothing really there. So what happens is, the homeowners will sell just the land itself because of it. And that's going to show like a significant decline. But even with that, you saw that they were on the moderate side in comparison to, Arizona.
Well, and the thing is, like, let's say that didn't happen, Hawaii wouldn't even been on this list.
Correct.
It's literally only because of that this happened.
That's
I think that was probably my point up front, was that it's only on this list of areas of decline because of the disaster. Otherwise, it's not on this list at all. Yeah. It's on the other side where the values are holding and they're going up. So I think places to look out for are going to be the places where most people have migrated to, and sellers are trying to sell at that price that's maybe 18 months old or maybe 12 months old. Like they're trying to get that 2023, late 2022 price. That's not going to happen, I don't think. And most of it, I'm noticing, just from my own personal research, I'm noticing there's a big difference between rural and like metro suburb. Metro suburbs are pretty holding. I'm starting to see a lot of price declines in more rural outskirt these bells, guys. Yeah. The more rural outskirt areas where it's like, a 3% price decline, maybe 5%, and it goes to like 8%. And you're like, oh, they really aren't selling. The listing time on the market's a lot longer. Yeah. Suburbs are still turning over pretty healthily.
Oh yeah.
What do you make of that? Anything else on this?
I think what I do see is that sometimes the house goes up for one price because sellers believe, like you said, they could still get the price from like 2 years ago, but slowly the market will let them know what the house is at. And I think, you start seeing the price reductions, or the house just sits on the market longer because people think something's wrong with it, or they just, everything else is a lot lower. I don't want to go for this. So there's a lot more inventory to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And overpriced homes, right? We're starting to see one of the, I don't want to say the highest, but because the norm is anyways, is like between 34%,
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
price decrease. We saw this time around, I believe when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, it was like at 39%. But again, that's just because we're so used to home prices going so high that the seller's willing, like, yeah, just put it up there. Let's just see what happens.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Like,
So-
let's see what we get.
Yeah,
We
let's
might
just see
get your
what
number.
happens. It might hit.
Yeah.
It might not.
And then
I mean, you're just going through one right now, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually a fix and flip property. Being sold for
512, and then we're gonna hopefully get it for 480.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's like those have the
That's a huge
those are the
difference.
tendencies
Yeah.
of things happening in the real estate market.
And those decisions and that kind of, I'll say, behavior or attitude, that spills into data too, because
Yeah.
it goes, oh, look at the percentage of homes that had price declines. Like, well, some of these fools shouldn't have put their house up like that anyways.
Yeah,
So there's kind of it's not a lot. I mean, it could be like 1%. My point is that some people do just what you're saying. They toss it out there.
And it's-
See if we can get $500,000 more than it's worth.
Skews the data, even though
No.
like, you put it up high, but then you bring it down to the price it should be.
Yeah.
Well, there's the price reduction,
Yeah.
but in reality, I mean, you're just now going
Yeah.
back to what it should have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Because who determines the market price?
The people.
That's it.
Buyers.
The buyers.
The buyers do.